up, guys? How y'all feeling today, man? This is G Weezy 11. Welcome to the Gym Podcast. And I just want to show my love and appreciation to the people that are listening. Trust me, it means a lot. I see everything. I see all the ratings and stuff like that. But without further ado, this is In Other News series, episode 4, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But today's topics, let me transition my screen real quick. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, this is a brand new series where I basically talk about topics around the world that are going on currently, kind of like current events. But on this episode, I will be talking about basically some books that I've read, and also some of hip hop and streaming. So I'm gonna dive deep into hip hop and streaming. But without further ado, let's begin. So couple of books that I've read is off the top of my head, I know Rich Dad Poor Dad was a big one. Think and Grow Rich was another one too as well, and Crushing It by Gary Vee, that was a good one. And then I know I'm missing one. Let me look. I have it right here. Where's it at? I think that's about it. That should be about it. Well, I'm reading one right now, so I'm like halfway through it. But that would probably be the main books that I actually would recommend. But we'll start off with Rich Dad Poor Dad. The couple of things that I like about that is it goes into, it's very, very simple. So it breaks it down to, I wouldn't say it's similar to how someone explains like things to a kid, but it breaks down everything in general about how you're supposed to manage money, how you're supposed to look at different things in a more specific way. So it's very, very helpful whenever it breaks down things, and that's what I really liked about the book. And then also too, I know a couple things that it actually went into is generation wealth. So whenever you talk, my perception of generation wealth is just, of course, building an empire where you can have a mass amount of money or wealth, so you can transition to the generations that live after you. And then also too, I believe it touched bases on real estate, if I'm not mistaken. So how to acquire real estate, why real estate is good, how millions of Americans, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 90% of Americans or 90% of millionaires have real estate. I think that's how they grow into a millionaire. And then obviously, I think the biggest thing that I took away from that book was pay yourself first. And it's one of those, it's one of those things where you put yourself in a mental state of paying yourself and then paying like all your bills, paying basically whatever you got to pay after. I'll transition to this. I'll say it backwards. So you have to think of a list that you pay on a monthly basis or daily basis or whenever you pay bills. It can be literally anything. And then what you want to do is you want to put yourself first. Literally, like the way I think the book explains it is that you put your name first, like on a list, and then you go ahead and list everything after as far as what you have to pay. But it's a mental state. It helps out tremendously. It helped me out transition it to my business because every time I make profit or I get paid, I basically fund my personal bank account separate from the business account. And it's a mental thing, honestly, and it helps out. Trust me. Try it out. Let me know what you think. But I think another book too is Think and Grow Rich, and it's not weird. I was gonna say weird, but it's not weird. It's just it's very, very. You have to be in tune with yourself to actually understand that book, or you won't get some of the things. So and I'll explain it, but a couple things it does is it outlines how to mentally prepare yourself to make money, and then also too it lists different ways of failures and how to overcome those failures, and it's very, very interesting. Some of the things that I thought weren't failures are on that list, and it just it teaches you a tremendous amount of stuff, and then also too your imagination and like your desires, your another thing that kind of correlates to that is your visualization. I didn't even say that right, but we're gonna go with it. You know what I mean. So once you combine all those together, you're gonna get where you can control your outcome of basically everything, and then also too, it lists your different fears. So it has, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 6 fears. Shit, it might be more honestly, but it has 6 fears in there, and it tells you how to overcome those fears. I think that's about it. Let's see. Okay, so I was thinking back of reading this book, and I was like, my biggest thing that I was like, oh fuck, like that makes sense. I never thought of it that way was sex transmutation, if I'm saying that correctly, if I'm looking at it right. Basically it transfers it's the transfer. You transfer your energy of your thoughts from sex to another nature. So for instance, you can do, whenever you're having thoughts about sex, you can do it towards your business. You can do it towards your goals. You can do it towards your passion, whether if it's like photography, video editing, whatever the case may be. It's when you transition that sex energy towards another nature, that's when you can accomplish tremendous amounts of things. And I never thought of it that way because it's just, no one teaches you that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, no one teaches you, and it goes into depth about a lot of things where you can change your mental state to transition that quote unquote sex energy to other things. But very, very interesting. I definitely recommend that book. And it's one of the great books. I know it's up there with a lot of people have read it. A lot of people recommend it. So I am recommending it to you. And then the next one is Gary Vee. So if you're not familiar with Gary Vee, he is not a billionaire. I think he's a multimillionaire, and he owns a sports agency. I know he owns a digital media agency too. And then I think his main, it might not be his main, but his like first business, quote unquote, was wine business. So I think it's like winelibrary.com. But yeah, he's just a motivational speaker. I think might be an influencer too as well. But most of his stuff, like online, is very, very motivational. I take it and run with it, honestly, because it's very, very helpful in the day-to-day life that I live. But his book, it's crushing it. I don't know if I said that already, but that book is basically all about social media. It goes into depth about how you can incorporate social media into your business, into your life, into basically whatever, mostly about business, honestly. And it's a couple of things. I think it's very, very, it starts off with why you're failing, why you do the certain things that you do towards like social media, and it kind of breaks down that nature. And then it goes into, honestly, right, like throughout the book, it has success stories and how those success stories started, how those business owners used social media to transition their business revenue to top tier revenue. I don't know, but yeah. So that is also too, it literally has a chapter about every social media. So shit, let me think about them real quick. It's YouTube, it's Instagram, it is Twitter. I think Musically, I don't know if Musically is popular. I doubt Musically is popular, but it was whenever he wrote that book. I think this was like 2017, 2018. It has Tumblr in there, I know for sure. And Snapchat is another huge one. It basically just tells you also, I think it basically just tells you how to run like Facebook ad. I don't know if I said Facebook, but Facebook it is. Facebook ads, Snapchat ads, Instagram ads, and it shows you how to make more revenue for your business. So I'd highly recommend that one, just because if you do own a business, I don't see why not. I don't see why you're not running social media for your actual business, because you want to make more money. You know what I mean? You want to get more awareness of what you're trying to do. in whatever you're trying to do. So highly recommend that book. It's honestly like Rich Dad Poor Dad, very very simple terms. Highly recommend it. And then the one that I'm reading, I said on my I think it was podcast 2, if I'm not mistaken, that I was reading the E-Myth, how small businesses fail and how to fix it. So I'm about 10, 11 chapters in. I honestly haven't read it in about a week or two. But that is, it literally breaks down how, I think it's 3 ways how businesses fail. And then it tells you how to fix it. But it also gives you basically a revolution on how this program that the author used for several thousand businesses from, I believe, 1970s, maybe 80s till now. Well, this book was wrote in 2004, so I think it's a little bit out. I wouldn't say outdated, but some of the information is very, very useful. And then on the flip side, some of the information is just you don't necessarily kind of need it just because of technology and social media. But it's all around great book so far. So hopefully I keep reading it. Y'all need to keep me on check because I've been slacking. So yeah, I think those are the couple books. I mean, I have read other books, but those are the kind of top 3, top 4 that I definitely recommend. So it is Rich Dad Poor Dad, the E-Myth, How Small Businesses Fail and How to Fix It, Crushing It by Gary Vee, and then Think and Grow Rich. But honestly, if I would have to give you a recommendation of my personal favorite, it's Rich Dad Poor Dad. And the only reason why is just because it gets you into a mental state that I have never even thought about. Like, I didn't even know it was possible to think like that or possible to move in such a way where your everyday thinking is depicted by the readings of that book, and it's very very useful. So if I had one book to recommend, go ahead and get Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I know I didn't say that right. I know I probably said the motorcycle brand, but yeah, check that book out. Next thing I want to get into is streaming and hip hop. As everybody knows, streaming and hip hop has been around since the 80s, maybe even a little bit longer than that. And it's transitioned to where everybody loves hip hop. I think for me, hip hop was one of the first things that I actually listened to. Like, it was just the music that I was around. I think I'm into more hip hop. Yeah, I don't think in anything else. Maybe pop. Nah, that sounds kind of gay, but nah, not pop. Maybe R&B. I love me some R&B, some old school R&B, some Keith Sweat. No, I'm kidding. But what else? I think that's about it. Country. I'm like 20% on country. I never grew up with it, so it's not one of those things where I'm just like, oh, I'm really about it. But definitely hip hop, and it's I think, if I read an article correctly, I think Forbes said in 2017 that their genre of rap has surpassed rock. I think was the first one. And it's just because so many people are listening to it. And a big thing of why it became so popular is streaming. So streaming services like Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, I think might be one, if I'm not mistaken, Sirius XM Radio, and I know I'm forgetting one, SoundCloud. I know SoundCloud is, even though SoundCloud is a little weird because I don't think the business gets paid because it's free. Well, you know what? I'm lying. Now you have to pay for a certain, like a subscription or a service, quote unquote, but it's, yeah, I think at one point in time it was just all free, and most of the like popular rappers now came off of SoundCloud. But yeah, it's transitioned the game, and it's one of those things where everybody listens to it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all over social media. It's all over whatever you want to call it. But let's see what else we got. Fun fact. Out of all those streaming services, YouTube is by far the biggest one. I think the article I was reading, similar to the one that I talked about, Forbes, YouTube in 2018 had 47% of the consumption of streaming music on their platform. And it's, yeah, who the fuck listens to music? No, I'm just kidding. I sometimes listen to music on YouTube, and I don't do it often. I just do it for new artists because I'm like, let me see what this is about. And then I transition to whatever streaming service I have. But that transitions me into my next thing would be the music streaming service music. Well, the streaming service that I use is Apple Music. And I think honestly the main reason why is because I used to work at Apple, the retail store at one of the local malls here in San Antonio, Texas, and I got it for free. No, I'm lying. Was it for free? Maybe. Either that or it's $5. I don't remember. But at some point in time, I was just like, "Hey, I'm working for the company. Let me go ahead and," because honestly, I think before that I had Spotify. I'm not gonna lie. I think Spotify was my like junior year of high school, and then till maybe about 5 years later. I don't even know if I did that math correctly, but yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, when I became an employee of Apple, downloaded that, transitioned everything over to Apple Music, and then never looked back since. I thought of it as a tool when I can show customers whenever I was helping them out, and it stuck with me. But I know a shitload of people that use Spotify. Honestly, there has been a trend on Twitter where you basically they have like 3 pictures, and you one or 2 pictures. One of them's Apple Music, one of them's Spotify, and then you retweet for Apple Music or you like the tweet for Spotify. And I think the likes on that specific tweet was like near double or triple, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not too sure on what's going on with Spotify, but a lot of people use it. I don't know if it's like a lot of people have Androids and it's very, very user friendly on Android devices. But a lot of people have Apple, have iPhones and use Spotify too. So it's just, yeah, you never know. Whatever works best for you, whatever looks better, whatever is cooler to you. So, yeah. But one of the things I found interesting too is when I was researching is how rap or hip hop has transitioned to smaller songs, like length of the actual songs. So now I think on average they're about 3 minutes each, when before they're I don't remember the damn minutes. I think it was like 5 minutes. It was the average like 10-20 years ago. But now they're about 3 minutes or less. And the only reason why is just because, of course, it goes back to streaming. And the shorter the songs are, obviously, are the more streams. The more streams, the more money. So that's why these rappers or hip hop artists are creating these shorter songs just to make more money. And it makes sense. Why wouldn't you do it? You know what I mean? Like, obviously they're making music. They want to transition their passion into some type of revenue. So shit, I mean, I would too if I was making music. But I wanted to get into. I wanted to actually research because I never fully understand how like streams and how artists get paid. So that's one of the things that I actually looked into. But a couple ways to, and I'll get into it right now, but a couple ways to get your song popping or get your song heard or get your song more streams, plays, whatever is upload onto every social media. So whatever social media, but streaming services, whatever streaming services that you can think of that are out there that you can put onto that platform, go ahead and do it. The more awareness is the more better. So that's always good. Also too, playlists. So I know Spotify has, I think it's Rap Caviar. If I'm not mistaken, that's the highest, that's the most subscribers that Spotify has on that specific playlist. So once you get to Rap Caviar, it's game over from there. I know artists that's had very, very little plays, or if not, very decent amount, and then kind of rocket ship into space with whenever they got their song put on Rap Caviar. Other playlists too popular, but that's the most well-known one. Well, at least for me, that's the one I know the most. And then also too is, yeah, that's it. Use of social media. Promote your shit, people. Promote your shit. And so going to these streams, I have a little table here in front of me, so I'm gonna read off of it real quick, and I'll do the because there's literally a lot of streaming services with a lot of money and this big old table. So I'm gonna do the top three. So Spotify, Apple Music, and Tidal. We'll go with those because those are the main ones that everybody listens to, or so I think listens to. Well, no, I'm lying. I said YouTube was the most. So we'll do 4: Tidal, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music. So I'll go with Apple Music first. So 1 million streams is about $7,350. And then this table that I'm using was from a website that I think was in 2019, so last year. So it's still relevant. Might be a little bit different, but yeah. So 1 million streams, 7,350. 1 million streams on Spotify, 4,300. YouTube, 1 million streams is 690. Goddamn YouTube, that's crazy. And then 1 million streams on Tidal is 12,500. Okay, Tidal, dishing money out. Okay. And let's see. So 75 million streams equals gold. So your album or whatever is gold, or the song. I'm sorry, the song is gold. 150 million streams is platinum. So whenever that song gets 150 million streams, it's platinum. And then 1.5 billion streams is, wait, I don't know if I'm looking at this damn table right. Okay, so 75 million streams, 500,000 singles sold, gold. 150 million streams, 1 million singles sold, platinum. 1.5 billion streams equals 1 million albums sold, so that's platinum. So whenever your album gets 1.5 billion streams cumulative, so altogether, that means your album is platinum. So pretty interesting. And I said I was gonna go over YouTube, but that shit's too much already. So let's just say your album goes platinum or whatever on the streaming service. So Spotify is 6,000. No, that is way off. 600,500. No, 600,055. I am way off. I can't even read. I'm just Jesus. 655,000. There we go. That's Spotify. Apple Music is 1,102,000, and then YouTube, if you ever become platinum, if your album is ever platinum or song or whatever. No, I think it's your album. Yeah, this one says album on this table that I'm reading. It is YouTube 103,000. So definitely a lot of money to be made out there, but shit, that's a lot of streams, don't you think? Like someone, you have to be listening to that song quite a bit. Or, I mean, you could just be a popular guy, like a popular person like Drake or Kendrick Lamar, whoever it might be right now. But yeah, fun fact for y'all guys. Hopefully that kind of got your mind going to do whatever you got to do, whether if it's read books, upload on social media, stream some fucking songs, make some music, or whatever it might be. But this is the Gin Podcast. If you're listening to the podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, whatever streaming services for podcasts, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and rate the actual podcast. Let me know how I did. If you're on YouTube, do me a huge favor. Go ahead and see if that like button is working. I had trouble. My friends have trouble. I don't know what's going on. Just see if it works. Just hit that button for me, and yeah, let me know if it works. And comment down below if you want to hear anything on this Other News series podcast. But peace, guys. This is the Gin Podcast. Your host, G Weezy 11. I'll see you next time.